Have you been waiting for Wyze to put out an outdoor smart camera? Or are you looking for an outdoor camera that does not require wires to be outside? If either of those are true, then you're in the right place. Hello, I am Wanderer001 and this is my review of the Wyze Cam Outdoor. Now you'll notice that there's more than just the Wyze Cam Outdoor itself. There is the Wyze base station because this is part of the starter bundle. You will need a starter bundle to, as it sounds, get started. You may have noticed that the particular Wyze Cam Outdoor here does not look as pristine as you might have seen in other videos. Well, that's because I actually took 4 months to review this camera outside in the rain, attacked by wild animals, I let this sit in temperatures ranging from 95 degrees all the way to 39 degrees. Sadly, no snow in my area yet, so I couldn't test it in those conditions, but I wanted to run the gamut of possibilities because my pet peeve is whenever I see an outdoor item that's being reviewed, if it looks like it just came out of the box, I don't feel that you adequately reviewed it. So that's why the staining up here is from outside. This is what it looked like originally before I cleaned it off, and sadly those stains are permanent because of the squirrels attacking my camera just based on where I had it. But this is a very thorough review, so I wasn't the first one out there, but I bet you I'm one of the ones that put the most testing into this setup. As I mentioned before, this is actually a two-part system. So we're going to put the cam over here for a moment because we're going to talk about the base station. This base station connects to your home network via LAN port right there. So you can see you will need an Ethernet cable and a power supply. Both are provided by Wyze. Both are about 5 feet in length, which will do you plenty. If your particular Wi-Fi router does not have an available LAN port, you can always get a splitter, review over there in the corner, and give yourself more options. On the side here, you have your micro SD card slot and your sync button. So we'll talk about the sync button a little later. So the micro SD card slot that's part of the base station here is a way that you can back up your clips from the Wyze Cam Outdoor to the base station. In some ways that's good, in some ways it's bad. We'll talk about that. This is a vent for heating. Front, there's nothing. On this side, we have more venting, a recessed reset button, and a USB port where you can charge your Wyze Cam Outdoor. You do not have to use the port to charge the Wyze Cam, however, but it's there if you need to. On the top of the device, it might be a little hard to see, but there's a little Wyze branding there. It's all matte plastic. Here you have a LED indicator light, and I do enjoy the fact that Wyze has integrated a lot of the loose minimal paperwork that they used to have into their application. And again, I'll show you that a little later. You have some variable antenna, so you can move these a bit so that you can give yourself a better connection. Coming to the back, you've got the ability to mount it. You have venting ports right there, and then a rubber foot. Now, my one complaint with this is that this gets a lot warmer than I thought it would. And by warmer, I mean warmer than I would like to leave on a wooden surface. So I actually have this on a coaster hanging slightly off so that these vents underneath can vent out more heat. So I just, maybe if it had a few more vents up here maybe, or some on the top, it gets a little warmer than I feel comfortable leaving on a hardwood surface. The Wyze Cam itself is battery powered, so it doesn't use any electricity. However, this guy here, because it is plugged into your network, does use electricity, and it uses 3.2 watts when writing to the card. Now, I say when writing to the card and not without because realistically, you want to use a micro SD card with the base station. It's just good to have because it's on site, it's within your control. The maximum size that it will accept is a 32 gigabyte SD card. Now, we bring over the Wyze Cam Outdoor, and here you can see that dirt I was talking about before. So with the base station covered, we've got the Wyze Cam. But to get them to work, we have to set it up. So let's take a look at what setup is like for the Wyze Cam Outdoor. This is the setup process for the Wyze Cam Outdoor. It is a two-part process because you have the base station that lives inside, and then you have the Wyze Cam Outdoor over there, and then here I have the cable for charging the Wyze Cam Outdoor if we need it. I will be using all of the included wiring, so the Ethernet cable that comes with base station, as well as the power adapter. So step one is obviously get everything out of the box. Step two is coming into your Wyze app, selecting the plus sign, select add a new device, and then here you can see there's base station and Wyze Cam Outdoor. We are going to select the base station. So what we're going to do is connect your mobile network to the device. Okay, so what this is, we need to make sure that our network that we're on is going to be the same network that our base station is on. So in my case, I'm just going to switch over to my IoT network very quickly on my cell phone just to make sure, and we're going to hit next. So here we're going to plug the base station into your power and router. So powering up the device and adding the Ethernet cable. So we're going to put down the cell phone for a moment, and like I said, grabbing the included cableage, we're going to plug in the power, and then we're going to come over and say we got orange on top, and then we're going to plug in the Ethernet cable and put that down. So we're going to give that a moment because we have the light will flash blue and remain solid once connected. So we're going to give that a moment to do what it's going to do because right now it is orange, and we're going to see how long that actually takes to do it. And sadly, this is kind of where it's going to live for the rest of the setup process because, well, the Ethernet cable that comes with the outdoor cam, not terribly long. So not terrible if you're going to have it really close to your base station or your Wi-Fi router. In my case, the Asus one, I'll link over in the corner there, but not really good for if you're trying to set this up far away. All right, there we go. It's flashing blue. And once it's a solid blue, we will know it's connected. So there we go. It is connected to my network. So coming back to the application here, we can put a check mark next to the status light is solid blue, because there we can see solid blue, and select next. So I can try again, or I can set it up using the QR code. I'm going to try again, and what I think may be happening is because I have a separate Wi-Fi network for my IoT devices that it is not going to be sitting on my IoT network. It's actually going to be sitting on my main network. So let me swap. All right, so I've swapped over to my 5 gigahertz main network, and I'm going to give that a shot. And if that doesn't work, I will switch over to the 2.4 gig network. And if that doesn't work, I will set it up with the QR code. That's what it is. So we're going to give it a name. So camera name. All right, so we'll rename that. But I don't necessarily know that I like that it's sitting on my main network and does not allow me to put it on my IoT network. Well, here we go. We're going to add a new device, and we're going to add the actual outdoor camera now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the device, flip it up, turn the power button on. The status light will be a solid yellow. Keep cam within 6 feet of the base station during setup, and if light does not turn on, please plug in and charge your camera. So let's see what we got here. I've already pre-done opening the base station, so we're gonna flip that switch up, and that puts it in the on position. Now mine is yellow, so this should mean that I have enough power to actually link this to the base station. Now I had seen some other reviews that, you know, they had to charge it first, but we're gonna try this and see what we got. Press the sync button on the bottom of the camera. So we're just gonna come around here. There is our sync button.
Pairing is in progress. Please wait.
All right, hopefully you heard that. Pairing is in progress. Please wait. And now you can see on the back there, it is flashing blue and yellow.
Setup is complete.
And there it says setup is complete. All right, and we could set up different names for it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this backyard for now and hit finish. We can select sharing the device if we want to. We're gonna say maybe later because we're not gonna do that. and then begin mounting. It's going to walk you through the mounting process. I'm going to skip this for now, only because I'm actually just going to be placing this outside while I test it until I find an actual spot that I'd like to keep it. So quick setup unlocked, add new outdoor cameras by pressing quick set. Okay, so that's base station stuff. We'll talk about that later. This is part of the starter bundle, so everything we had to do manually. So I'm just gonna say, got it. And then here we go, one last thing. It's kind of showing me all the things. We're gonna say all set. And then obviously we're gonna have to upgrade the firmware, so we're gonna select upgrade the firmware. So there were actually two firmwares that I had to do, one for the base station and one for the outdoor camera itself. So there you saw my one point of contest, in that I have to be on my main network and not my IoT network in order for this to work. And I get it because it's hardlined in, it's going to do that, but I kind of wish that I could choose my IoT network. Per base station, you can have up to 4 Wyze Cam attached. Again, this is the starter bundle, and then you can buy Wyze Cam Outdoors separately. If you have more than that, you will need more base stations. With the base station out of the way, we come to the Wyze Cam Outdoor. Up at the top here, you can't see them, but there are 8 IR lights on the front of this, which allow it to see at night. Down here you have a very large PIR sensor, and that is a heat sensor. So the big difference between this and the Wyze Cam indoor models is this PIR sensor. So it will only trigger the camera once it senses a heat source walk past it or move past it. The indoor cameras are constantly running, and they'll compare one frame to another frame to see if there's a difference, and that is how they motion detect. On the front you have your microphone, because you do have two-way audio with this. We'll talk about that a little more later. On this side you have nothing. On the back, this is very stained for where it is. Here, that is your LED indicator light, because I have this pointed and it has me moving. This flap is how come you get IP65 resistance. This flap really is weatherproof, and in there you've got a micro USB port and your on-off switch. And you can see that weatherproofing not only just forms a seal around here, there is actually the bit that goes right into the micro SD port. So that keeps things nice and watertight. Again, other side, nothing. Top, you have a little Wyze branding. Again, all matte plastic, which is nice, so it kind of blends in a little bit. And underneath, you've got rubber footy speaker. You've got a sync button right there. You've got your micro SD card. Now that is, again, weather tight, and I'm not going to open that because that one's a pain in the butt to get to. You will need to use an SD card. Again, micro SD card, 32 gig max, if you want to record directly to the Wyze Cam Outdoor. And if you plan on doing any time lapse, you need the SD card directly in the camera as opposed to the base station, because those don't travel to the base station. The foot here is rubberized. You'll notice that there is this circular cutout. Well, that's hiding a tripod mount right there, which I do appreciate. The only problem that I have with the tripod mount is that if you have a larger foot, you cannot get that to sit comfortably with this recessed. If you have a smaller tripod mount, it does fit in there quite nicely with no problems. Because this has internal batteries, and by that I mean it has two 2600 milliamp batteries, this is substantially heavier than the Wyze Cam Indoor version 2. With the two batteries, Wyze says that you'll get anywhere from 3 to 6 months depending on how much it's actuated. Now, I've had it for 4 months, but I have been vigorously testing it, so I cannot give you an exact range of, hey, this is normal usage, because I wasn't normally using it. However, I am on my second charge within the 4-month time period, if that helps you. Charging, as I mentioned before, can be done via the base station using a USB cable, and if you charge that way, it will take about 3 hours. If you use a wall wart plugged into the micro USB port in the back here, it will take about 2.5 hours. So you'll save yourself a little time charging directly from a wall wart as opposed to the base station. And the base station can be tricky depending on where you have it in your setup to actually charge the Wyze Cam. As I mentioned before, the front of this has 8 IR lights. Now you don't see them because they're flashing right now into the camera, but because they're IR, this is not an IR camera, you don't see them. They're not visible to the naked eye. However, because there's 8 of them, it has a throw distance of about 25 feet. Now I've done a little further than that in some more advanced testing where I've gotten to about 49-ish feet. It's a line out in the dirt that you can see, but it's not optimal viewing. The other thing that I found with the 8 IR lights is if something gets too close to it, meaning a face, it can actually blow out the face in night vision mode. And what I mean by that is it just makes it very hard to see and for the camera to focus in and figure out what it's looking at. If you are new to Wyze as a product, one of the things that I've enjoyed in the past about Wyze is that they have free cloud storage. And what do I mean by that? Well, this triggers a 12-second event. That 12-second event gets sent to the base station via Wi-Fi and then uploaded to Wyze servers where it will live in their servers for 14 days. And it's a rolling cloud storage. So the older clips that you have, if you don't download them, will be overwritten by your new clips. Now, this is the one thing about the outdoor cam that I was probably hoping a little too much for, which is in my Wyze Cam version 2 and my Wyze Cam Pan, I can have continuous recording. If you do that with this, I get it, it would kill the battery, but those 12-second clips sometimes aren't really useful. Something might trigger it really quick and you only see the tail end of what's happening. But in the future, Wyze will offer Cam Plus, which is a monthly subscription service per individual Wyze Cam product that you have, which will allow you to do complete motion capture and cloud storage. And I hate to say it, but with the Wyze Cam Outdoor here, I think that's almost going to be a necessity. Wyze Cam does also offer person detection. That will be a separate fee. So you have a choice. Wyze Cam Plus, which rolls in person detection and gives you the complete capture, or just person detection, so you won't get the complete capture. And again, with this, you might actually need that complete capture option. The camera does record in full 1080, but you can downgrade that if you want to reserve space on your SD card or if you have your base station too far away. So when I originally set this up, I did not set this up really close to the base station. We're talking more than 100 feet away through walls, which is not ideal. So normally I get about 1 to 2 bars of signal from the base station. That's not ideal, but it's trying to test this at its extreme. It does not have optical zoom, it only has digital zoom, and that's all done through the app. So let's use this as a segue to actually look at the heart of this particular device, the Wyze app, and what you can do with it. When you first log into the Wyze application, you're brought here. This is your home screen. If you have multiple Wyze devices, you will see them all listed here. In my case, I have lots and lots because I've been testing them out for a long time. Playlist up there in the corner if you're interested. So on the main screen, there are several things that we can do. We're going to concentrate on what we can do with the Wyze Cam Outdoor. So we're going to scroll down here, and our Wyze Cam Outdoor consists of 2 different parts. First being the base station and second being the outdoor camera. So to check our options for the base station, we click on that and we let it load. Here you can see the signal strength to the Wyze Cam Outdoor. In my case, it varies for me between 1 to 2. If we click on that, it brings us into the Wyze Cam, so we're not going to do that. We're going to click up here for the settings cog, and here we can change the name. We can check our micro SD card that's installed into the base station. We can format this, which means we erase it completely and start over. And down here we have eject SD card. So you can actually correctly eject the SD card without actually just pulling it out of the device. And by eject, I mean digitally eject, like you would a USB drive from your computer. It doesn't automatically pop it out for you. Device info has lots of sensitive information, so we're not going to show you that. Travel mode, so this is one of the 2 places that you can access travel mode if you wanted to turn that on. We'll talk about travel mode a little later. And travel mode password. So right now, none set because I didn't use it, but there we go to change it. And we can delete the device if we wanted to. We're going to select back, brought back to our base station. We can add a Wyze Cam Outdoor from here, which we already have done, so we're not going to go through that again. But if I select Wyze Cam Outdoor, it brings me to the Wyze Cam Outdoor that I have set up with this particular base station. Remember, you can have up to 4 on a single base station. And we're just going to tap back to the main page again, because what you're going to see here, this outdoor camera, is exactly where I got to going through the base station. From here, you can toggle on and off your camera. You can see its battery life. If it gets below 20%, this will show red and send you a notification, which is really nice. And that's an extra that they added after the fact. Selecting our outdoor camera will allow it to load up. Keep in mind that you can tilt your phone to have your image take up the entirety of the screen, but for what we're doing, we're just going to leave it like this so that we can see all of the options. In the upper left-hand corner there, you can see you have a toggle for HD. I can set this between HD, standard, 360, or auto. Depending on what your bandwidth is like, it will dynamically change whether it is standard or HD, and you don't have to do anything. Here you can see auto with a moon. What that means is it is on auto. I just changed it to night vision or night mode. I turned off night mode and I'm back to auto. So what that is you pretty much are toggling on the always daytime mode, always nighttime mode, or let the camera figure it out for itself. I recommend letting it figure it out for itself. Here you have your battery, so that is your battery indicator. On the big picture here, you can see what it sees. You can manually make it bigger by clicking that in the left-hand corner. You've got some things on here, Wyze, the date and time. Those are all things that we can adjust using the settings, but we'll touch on that in a moment. You can toggle your sound on and off, so that's the sound that you would hear from outside. You can start a recording, so if you see something there that you want to record, just tap record and it will automatically start recording it to the SD card for you. Speaker, tapping on that will allow you to start speaking and people on the other end can hear you. You can also take a picture, and there you go, you saw that little animation. It took a picture of what it was looking at right now. Under more, we have access to time-lapse. Now, this is something I really like with the Wyze Cam Outdoor, and I really hope that they bring this feature to the rest of the Wyze products, because not only do you have custom, which is what every Wyze product has, they have some specifics. You can do sunrise, you can do sunset, flower blooming, or clouds. Each of these is a predefined setup. You don't have to manually do that. Because of that, you don't have to know how much time you need to set or the interval in which you need to set it up to get something like this. With all the other products, you really did have to know how to customize correctly to get rolling clouds. It saves it. And again, you will need an SD card in order for you to actually use this kind of feature. Now, the SD card has to be in the Wyze Cam Outdoor itself. It cannot be in the base station. You can have a copy of it in the base station, but the primary needs to be in the camera itself. So that was under More and Time-Lapse. Scheduled recording is a way that will allow you to record an amount of time directly to your SD card. So if you want a 3-hour block recorded directly to your SD card, this is how you would do that. However, I will say it will kill the battery quite fast. And we're going to select back and more. I really wish it would bring you just back there. Albums, this will show you what it has. So in my case, it has photos. So there's a photo I just took. There's some, a deer that was hanging out under my deck that I was trying to see. I've got videos. So there's lots of videos in here, especially from when I was testing it. But this is a folder for videos that you take, not things that are automatically saved to the SD card because of motion or person tracking. These are things that you have taken. And time-lapse, there are my 2 time-lapses of different clouds. And down here you can see there is a folder for scheduled recording. And one more time, we're going to select more. You have motion tagging. So if you want a person or motion to be tagged with a green box, that's how you would do it. And then we can turn this camera off right from here by selecting off. I wouldn't recommend doing that because, well, then your camera's not recording. We're going to close and come up here to the sprocket. This is the settings for our Wyze Cam Outdoor. Very similar to a lot of the other Wyze products, but we are going to select the toggle. We can name this. We can select event recordings, which gives us options. Detect motion, which we want it to detect motion. Here is recording cooldown. So this is something unique to the Wyze Cam Outdoor. By default, all Wyze products have a 5-minute cooldown, meaning will not detect motion again for 5 minutes and then record. This one, with the Wyze Cam Outdoor, we can do 5, 3, and 1. So I leave it at 1 so that I get as much as I can from outside. And then we can back up to the base station, which again, if you don't have an SD card in your base station, not going to be as useful. Notifications. I have notifications pushed to the phone for sound, it heard something, person detection, all other motion. So if a leaf or branch moved, I didn't want to get notified. I just wanted to get notified if it detected a person. Do keep in mind in the future, depending on when you're watching this, you probably will have to pay for person detection, but comparable to Ring or others out there, it shouldn't be as expensive. And then I also have a push notification for low battery, which is again something they added a little later on via a software update. Detection settings. You have a slider for set distance and sensitivity. Now I have this going fairly far out and sensitivity being pretty high. The big thing that differentiates this from the indoor cameras, you can make a box with the indoor camera. This, because it uses the PIR sensor, which is just heat detection, you can notice at the bottom here, close to where all those sensors are, it's really green. As we progressively work our way up, it starts to fade out. Well, that's because it's not as effective further up away from the PIR sensor. Even if I change this, you'll notice that this here doesn't really change. Like even if I max this all the way out, you don't see that it really changes the grid down here much. It's just you telling it, hey, be this sensitive. I have mixed feelings about it because it has falsely triggered and not triggered on me in the past. So those were our detection settings. We're going to come into advanced. So in advanced, we can again turn off night mode, turn on night mode, or have it set to auto. We can turn off the IR lights, which could be useful depending on where you have this. It is a feature that Wyze added after the fact, and again, I greatly appreciate them doing that. Timestamp and watermark, so those things that you saw at the bottom of the video when I was bringing it up, that's what that is. You can rotate 180, so that's one of my favorite features with Wyze products. If the camera is situated thusly, but you need to mount it upside down, you can actually rotate the image 180 degrees so you can see things correctly. Show the Wyze logo, you don't have to, but that was that in the lower left-hand corner. Micro SD card, so if we click on that, it will show us how much space is on this card and then how much is on the base station. And again, we can format either or eject either. Schedule and automation, these are nifty things that Wyze does. I have a bunch of things set up for my cameras, for my lights, for my sensors. What this will allow you to do is set up a specific task. So in my case, my living room camera, I have it set up to turn on at midnight and turn off 6:30 a.m. before my wife or I are down in the living room. I then have it turn on again when we leave for work on those days. And then turn off right before we get home because I don't need it recording while my wife and I are home. You can do things similar to that using the Wyze Cam Outdoor. For me, I want it on recording all the time. But just know, if there's specific days and times that you don't want it to record, that's how you could do it. You can also set to if a sensor is triggered. So let's say you have Wyze sensors on your gate and the door opens, it can automatically trigger your Wyze Cam Outdoor to start recording. And I mean recording in that, it will record what's going on, not just the 12-second motion clip. Sharing, if you have another person that you'd like to share this with, you can. They will need a Wyze account in order for you to be able to share that. Device info, again, lots of private information, not going to show you that. Travel mode. So travel mode is something that is unique to the Wyze Cam Outdoor. It will allow the Wyze Cam to function as an independent device, meaning it doesn't have to be connected to the base station, which is connected to Wi-Fi. It will make its own Wi-Fi signal, which you can connect your phone to and interact with the Wyze Cam Outdoor that way. You will need a micro SD card in the camera itself, so don't think that you can do this without putting that SD card in there because, well, it's not going to record anything because it is not connected to the base station, which is how you would get those cloud clips. If you are using this in travel mode, everything is being recorded to the SD card, so you will not have a cloud backup. Keep that in mind. So you can select don't show me this, or you can continue. I'm not going to continue because I'm not going to go through the setup process with you. But here we can see travel mode password. So if you didn't set that up before, this is how you can set it up. And then here, they even have a little user manual that you can get into. Mounting guide, status lights guide. So if we click on these will actually show us, hey, what does this stuff mean? So they're building in this support and help right into the app to make your life much simpler. That brings us back to the main page. So let's go back one more time, because if this is the first Wyze product that you're looking at, you might not know what these at the bottom are. Well, right now we're on home because that is our home page. Up here, this is a quick area for edit devices, which means I can rearrange these. I can edit rules or create rules, or in my case, I'm just going to select done. Here we have notifications, snooze or no, add a rule. So that same rule page that we were on before, we can add something right here. Along the bottom, we come across to events. This will grab all of your events from all of your Wyze cameras and put them in one place. You can select, I just want to see things that have person tagged in them, or motion, or I can specify a camera that I want. So this has become very useful as they've been editing and changing things. And again, we can filter, which is what we were doing before with the cameras, cancel, and we can edit, which is select devices. So if I go like that, I can select them. All right. Down here, discovery. This has changed. This used to be, hey, check out these cool people's Wyze cams and what they've been doing with them. It has kind of turned into a promotional area as well as a information hub, almost like a blog right from Wyze themselves. Shop, that's built into the app now too. Hey, did you know that the Wyze company is coming out with headphones and a doorbell and a thermostat? Well, this is where you'd find that information as well as anything else Wyze sells. Last but not least is your account information. Up at the top, it will let you know if you're a Cam Plus member and what your subscription looks like. You also have access to your services. In my case, I'm still part of the person detection demo and emergency button pilot. Clicking on these will let you know, hey, what's actually utilizing them. So if you pay for person detection, you will have to turn it on for each of your cameras. So this is kind of where you would come to do that. We're gonna go back, security. Change your password, two-step verification or 2FA, highly recommend doing that. Sharing, again, another place that will allow you to share your Wyze cams. Notifications, again, this will bring all of your cameras in one place, and then you can select on something and check what you want to actually notify you with. Firmware upgrade, if you want to upgrade all your cameras firmware and all your devices firmware, let's be honest, in one place, this is where you can do it. So here you can see my living room, my workshop, and my garage all have a firmware upgrade that I should be doing, but I'm filming right now, so I won't be doing that. Works with, right now, I have it set to work with my Amazon Echo devices. Rule history, this shows you pretty much what has happened. If you set up rules, well, it wants to show you what all those rules have triggered. So I have something that turns on and off my basement. That's the primary one that you're gonna see, especially now when I'm home and doing things around the house. But that's what rule history is. Order history is, well, what have you purchased from Wyze? In my case, you can see I pre-ordered the doorbell, I got some masks, that's my Wyze Sense, that's the Wyze band, you get the idea. Help and feedback, just that, select your device, and just like for the Wyze Cam Outdoor, you'll be brought to helpful articles and feedback areas. App settings, well, here it's showing cache and then hardware decoder, so we're just gonna leave that alone. And about. So here you go, terms of service, privacy statement, and user license agreement or EULA, and open source software. So in case you didn't know what those at the bottom brought you to, that's what it is. Up here in the corner is our messages. So if you happen to have shared a device, so here we go, shop, device sharing, all those little message notifications will end up there. So we're gonna come back home and click on our outdoor camera one more time so you can see just how long I've been doing this because it's probably dark outside now. I did forget to mention that it does support 8x digital zoom, so you can pinch to zoom when you're in the app. The important part of the notifications, which I'm going to have a lot of after this review, is how speedy it gets from the camera to your device. Well, in my case, I found that the notifications took around 30 seconds to almost 45 seconds in some cases. And to me, as a security device, that's very laggy. And I know it's partially because I have it so far away from the base station, but I've seen other reviewers mention the same. If you're using this as a security device or just a way to check in on people, some of the things that you need to consider are how it sounds when you're talking to them. And I tested both the outdoor camera versus my version 2. And the big thing that I noticed was that the outdoor camera was much more muffled than the version 2. And part of that is because this is just, it's solid so that no water gets into it, but that also means that the audio is going to be muffled. So here is a comparison of the outdoor camera audio versus the version 2 audio.
Wyze Cam version 2 audio test. Test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
I will say that both do have a delay in bringing the audio from the phone to the camera, so that's no fault of the outdoor camera itself. So as I mentioned at the top of the video, I did a lot of testing with this. And when I say testing, I mean it rained several times, and I wanted to actually give you an example of what audio from that would sound like on this. I also ran several daylight tests and evening tests right in front of the camera, to 14 feet away from the camera, to 50 feet away from the camera. I will link to a full footage test up there in the corner, only because I don't want to bog this video down and I want to keep that as raw as possible over there without any processing. What I will say with the PIR sensor in those tests, it felt a little inconsistent. There were times that it would trigger at 50 feet and other times that it wouldn't. And then when my neighbor had people come in to mow their lawn, it would trigger with that. And I can't tell if it's just because of the sun, the way it was hitting it, but it was inconsistent. I also noticed that in the mornings and the evening, and this is again, if you have just glass outside, that it would get foggy. It would still trigger this device, but you might not be able to see what's going on. Examples here. Not terrible, again, but just know that you may experience that with drastic temperature changes. And that's why I tested as long as and in different climates as I could. For me, the Wyze Cam Outdoor's biggest benefit is that it's wireless, meaning that you can pick this up off its base and move it to wherever you'd like to get that picture. In my case, I had a deer that was hiding under my deck and I wanted to take a look at it. So I took my Wyze Cam and put it on the floor and then waited till the next day till it showed up. It was a very sick deer, so I did kind of let my local forestry people know so that they could come and help it. Speaking of the base for the Wyze Cam, it is very much like it is for the Wyze Cam 2, but it's bigger and beefier, but let's take a look at that. It does come with an adjustable base, very similar to the Wyze Cam version 2, in that, you know, it can move thusly, but the trick that this one has that that one does not, it's magnetic. So it is very dirty, but that's because this actually lives outside. So there are mounting screws underneath here. That are currently covered in nuts from squirrels who have been utilizing this as a platform to open their nuts. So again, very adjustable, just like with the Wyze Cam version 2, except this one is magnetic and it is actually a very strong magnet. So even if you have this upside down under a eave or awning, you'll be okay because it's not going anywhere. I mean, you saw how much force I have to exert just to get that off of the platform that I have set up. You've heard me talk about the camera itself, the base station. You've seen some sample clips even. The next question, how much does it cost? Well, the starter bundle is $50. Yes, an outdoor camera for $50. If you wish to get another camera, that can be purchased for an additional $40. Keeping in mind that per base station, you can only have 4 cameras. So, my thoughts. As a security device, I'm not sure if it's 100% there. I will admit, when I was first testing this out, I was very frustrated with it, but Wyze has been very good about pushing out updates to all of their devices. So 3 to 4 firmware upgrades later, I am much happier with this device. The inconsistency with the triggers and the delay in notification from the camera makes me feel a little iffy about using this as a security measure outside my home. I have really enjoyed using it as a wildlife camera outside. That's more versatile than something you might get for just that purpose. As a just strictly security camera, I don't think it's there yet. Maybe in the future, they'll push out some firmware upgrades, or just like they did with the Wyze Cam version 1, they will come out with a version 2 and correct a lot of the things that people don't particularly care for with the version 1. But if you are in search of an outdoor camera and you're not terribly concerned or reliant on it as a security camera, you're not going to beat Wyze's price, and you're definitely not going to beat the upgrades that they continuously do to all of their devices. And I've tested quite a few, list over there in the corner. Hopefully, you found some portion of this helpful so that you can make an informed buying decision about the Wyze Cam Outdoor. I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.